Welcome back. We're going to continue on with what we were doing the other day where we're adding to our basic GUI so we can make it so we can have a little more functionality and add some features to this as well. And so again, we have our demo package right here. You can see I've got my controller, my runner, and my demo frame that we've been working with. And I'm going to go in my demo frame, and my frame right now just gives it so I have a window. Again, if I just rerun this application really quick, it pops up a cute little window that says My Window App, and that's it. And it's kind of boring, but it functions. That's great. What we want to do though is we want to add some functionality and talk about more about the way we actually put Java windows together. And so we're going to add a new file to this. So we're going to go ahead to our view package, right click and make a new class. And this new class, we're going to call it demo panel. And again, we're inside our demo panel. The first thing we have to do is just like when we were talking about the demo frame, we have to add a reference to the library we're working with as also a reference to the controller so we can send information back and forth. We're not going to use the control reference yet. We'll do that in a future video, but we're going to put it in here now so we don't have to worry about adding it again later. So go ahead and add those import statements first. And so the first import is import javax.swing.jpanel. And that's going to be the one we're using to actually talk to the JPanel so we can get access to the information that makes that class happen. Our next import is import demo.controller and then .demoController. And the demo controller, of course, is so we can actually get a reference to the controller, that singleton pattern we're working with for all of our projects. The final import we have to add is a reference for color, because I don't like doing hello world. I like doing cool fun apps, and one of those is changing color, and we're going to start that off with giving it a color. So import, and this is going to be from java.awt, and then .color. And that gets us access to the color library as we start off with that. So we've got those three imports. That's the first thing we have to do. The next step we have to do is just like we did over here in demo frame is we have to update our header. However, this time when we update our header, we're instead of extending from JFrame, we're going to extend JPanel. So that makes the demo panel an instance of that JPanel class. So extends and then JPanel. And so now we have information inside here. We've got that first import, the yellow underline went away. We've got it, so we have that reference right there. Same thing we did earlier, we're going to make a data member for our controller so we can have a reference to that. And so we make a private, and it's a demo controller. And we'll give it the boring name again of controller. And save, we've got that yellow line out of the way too. And then we need to make our constructor because we have to actually build the object itself. So we've got our imports, we've got our data member, now we have to make our constructor. And so it's going to be public as always. It's a demo panel because again, we have to match the name of the class. And it takes a parameter of a demo controller. Again, we'll have the parameter name of controller and our squigs to go along with that. And just like the other class, because this has the extends in its header, the first line of our constructor should always be a call to the super or the parent class constructor. And so super is how I access the parent class's constructor inside Java, and it should always be the first line of any class we do that works with the extends keyword. We'll talk more about that when we talk about inheritance in some of our later videos. The next thing again is we have a parameter right here, and because I have a parameter, the first thing we need to do is use it. And so I initialize my data member from that parameter. And so this .controller, that way I talk to the one that belongs to the class, equals controller, and that way I'm talking to the one that is the parameter. And you can see that again matching based on color, the blue right here with the blue, the green with the green. So I'm assigning the parameter into the data member, and I have access to that. We'll be using this quite a lot as we go on, but that's just the basic thing we have to do. So hit save because we've done some work, making sure we're ready to go. The next thing we have to do is we have to make a little helper method do some work with this. We want to make sure we can actually see this happening. So right now our panel is kind of boring. So let's go ahead and let's give it so we can know that we actually made something happen. So I'm going to go up here and make a helper method. This helper method is private. It's a void method, and I call it setupPanel. Has no parameters. And this one is what I use to actually do all the work that I do when I'm actually going to do something for the panel. This handles things like talking to the layout manager, color, adding components, and we'll do a lot more with this as we go along. But the thing we're going to do first on this is we're going to do this to make it so it has a default value for color, so we know that we've got the right panel installed, and then that we make sure that we have a size as a default for it when we work with some of our later videos. So this .set background, and we're going to pass it color.magenta because I like bright purple, and there's not a really good dark purple I can use easily. And then this .set preferred size, and we'll do new dimension. Actually. So this .set size of 800 by 600, we're explicitly saying that the size of this panel is going to match what we're working with inside our frame. So I've got that set so they match directly on that. And then, I've got a yellow underline because I haven't actually used setupPanel. So let's go and make sure we call that as the last line right now of our constructor. So we call setupPanel. And now it's got that, so it's right there. And so my demo panel exists, but I'm not using it. The way we work with a panel is we have to actually put it inside the frame. And so when we go over here, I'm going to go back to my demo frame, and I have to make a data member first. I have to initialize it in the constructor, and then I have to install it in my setup frame method. So let's do that in that order. So we have a private and demo panel. And I'm going to give it the boring name of panel again, just like always. And then a this.panel equals new. And it's a demo panel. I'm going to pass it the controller as a reference. We've got that right there. And then inside setup frame, the first line, the last thing I add to setup frame, is this.setContentPane. And so this is what a frame class will always look like by default. This is the default thing we're going to have. So your frame class right here is going to be really standard. This is a great thing to make sure you have inside your notes, because we're never going to change this. This is what a frame class always looks like in class. Unless you're adding some really enhanced features, like say, for example, a menu bar or window listeners, you don't have to do anything else with frame. This is good to go from here on out. We won't actually be changing this file ever again inside our project. So I hit save and I hit run. And now I have the amazing window app right here. I've got a magenta screen. It's really cool. It's really bright. And we can see that we installed that. Because I installed that right here by using the this.setContentPane. It installs the instance of the panel I'm talking to, puts it inside the frame, and now I have access to it. And so again, just a quick little review when I'm doing that. Just a quick review, I have my demo panel. My demo panel is the class I start off with right here. It extends JPanel. We need to have an import for JPanel, the controller, and java.awp.color so we can actually work with those pieces. The constructor needs to take a controller as a parameter so we can use that later on. We're talking about sending information back and forth inside the application using that model view controller relationship. And then we have our first helper method inside our panel, which is setup panel. And I use that to set the size as well as the color for that, so I can have an reference for that. I hit play and run. I have this cool pink app that now shows up. It's a great start. Take a look at some other videos so we can make it so we add functionality and more cool features to this, and we'll go from there. But thanks again. Have a great day. Cheers.